Hi, I'm Kyle Rittenhouse, Outreach Director for Texas Gun Rights. A lot of people are upset that I said I'm going to be writing in Ron Paul for President of the United States. And that is true. I will be writing in Ron Paul. Unfortunately, Donald Trump had bad advisors making him bad on the Second Amendment. I support my decision and I have no takebacks.
So Kyle Rittenhouse is back in the news, boys and girls, but not for the reason he was before, thankfully. However, the reason he's there now doesn't really sit well with a lot of us either. If we're being honest, Kyle, it's the reason you've lost over 50,000 followers basically overnight. I want to start off just saying you have the right to vote for anybody you want. Anybody, everybody in this country, every single person should vote for who they think the best candidate is, who they think is going to represent them and their values to the highest standard. That being said, you're a Republican voter, Kyle. You're a Republican voter that is not, or was not, going to vote for our top candidate. Every vote, especially Republican votes, matter towards our goals and what we're trying to accomplish. Why does it matter? Well, because what's at stake today is far greater than any election we faced up until this day. The other thing is this. You got on there spouting off all this garbage that actually is completely unfounded. I've not been able to find where you may have come up with these things other than just listening to and being brainwashed by people that don't know what they're talking about. So with that said, what you really did was you alienated, stood against the entire MAGA nation. The MAGA nation stood behind you. We stood for you. We stood in support of you. We actually celebrated when you were exonerated. Trump himself stood for you and celebrated you and your exoneration. He pushed for it. He never agreed with you being prosecuted, as did any of the rest of us. You had the right to your Second Amendment rights and the right to defend yourself. And that's what you did. To come out now and essentially give all of us the middle finger while we are literally standing on the doorstep of the elections and try to sway right-wing voters away from our top candidate is kind of like just sticking votes in Harris's pocket. That's not a good idea, brother. Because if Kamala Harris ends up president of our nation, it don't matter what you think about your Second Amendment or what you think is important. She's already stated full and well that it won't exist no more the way that you and I currently enjoy it. I'm going to try not to talk about the Kenosha crybaby any further because quite honestly, brother, we're done with you. If ever again you find yourself in need of MAGA Nation or the right wing of this country, the only thing you're going to get is patriotic middle fingers in the air, and mine will be 2 of them. Let's talk about all that and more, guys. Let's get it. Welcome to Southern Traditions, you guys, where we present to you the Southern Drawl podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Kamala Harris, or as I like to call her, Culture Vulture, Cultural Appropriation Kamala, Kamala the Gun Grabber, Anti-Constitution Kamala, Anti-Cop Kamala, Communist Kamala, California Woke Kamala, Criminal Advocate Kamala. Well, you say, well, don't be calling her names. That's not good. You're not doing yourself any favor. We don't want to hear that. We don't hear no name calling. Guys, okay, cool. I got you. I'm going to go down the list step by step, each one of those things, and why I think that she is all of these things, why I believe with my heart this is who she is, this is what she stands for. I'm going to give you resources, citations of the things she is, the things she stands for, and why we should all have these viewpoints about Kamala Harris. Let's get on top of that right now. We're going to start with Culture Vulture Kamala. Well, she just recently visited my home state of Georgia.
And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024.
Suddenly, Kamala's got this amazing Southern accent. Actually, I can't even say that without even, not amazing at all. Actually, the fakest Southern accent that I've ever heard in my life. The fact that she wants to stand up there and pretend like she's one of us, that she grew up in this culture and she understands us. I grew up eating collard greens and I'm on. Listen to me. First off, it doesn't matter what you grew up eating. It doesn't matter how fake you think or how real you think your accent might be. What I'm going to tell you right now is the people of South Georgia and, well, the rest of the South United States for that matter, we are not stupid people for you to come into our area and try to pretend like you're one of us because you can Southern drawl your words out. That's not okay. In fact, the left defines this as cultural appropriation. This is why I call you cultural appropriation Kamala. You put on whatever face is necessary for the crowd in front of you. That tells me that you're a fake. You're a fraud. There's nothing about you that's real, and you will transform and shapeshift into whatever you believe is going to benefit you in the moment. It's about you. It is not about me. It is not about any of us. You think Black Americans are going to buy into this? You think Southern Black Americans are stupid little podunk people that are just going to jump on board with you when you put on a little drawl? No, absolutely not. They are not stupid people. Neither are white Southern Americans. Neither are Hispanic Southern Americans. We are people that have a culture that is near and dear to us. And for you to act like it's just something you can sway us with by putting on a little show tells us that you think that we are low IQ and not smart enough to figure you out.
Vice President Kamala Harris took herself to Columbia, South Carolina, and said the following. Check it out.
I was there with Jay Moore and Charlemagne the God, and I was about to head out of town to meet my family and cook for Thanksgiving. I won't mention where I was going, but where I was going, I knew I was not going to be able to find the kind of greens there that I could get here. And so, yes, that was me in my suit and heels, walking through Charleston International Airport, carrying 2 big plastic bags full of fresh South Carolina collard greens.
She had to smuggle her 2 bags of greens on the airplane before she left because I guess it was one Thanksgiving, wherever she was going, they would not have had greens to taste that good. So she had to take her some greens and all that other stuff as she was walking through with her heels and her suit on getting these greens. But I'm going to say this. Now, I don't know if she's telling the truth or not. I just highly doubt it. Because if you were going to cook for your husband and your stepkids, they don't even look like they can handle no seasoning, let alone no greens. So I just don't believe that you were doing that. But again, that's the things that they do to us. They being politicians, they come to our little events, you know, where Black people are, because I'm sure it was a room full of Black people. And they talk about the fish fries and the greens and the hot sauce and all the other low-hanging stuff. But I guarantee you she don't go to no white fundraisers and say, oh, I just have to smuggle me some seasonless soup out of this mug. They don't do that to them. They talk about tangibles, things that they can use, but we get collard green stories, chucks and pearls, saxophone playing, and all the other nonsense.
Truly disgusting. I mean, absolutely insulting. You're not one of us. You can't even begin to understand what it means to be one of us. You are California, girl. Go be California. Don't try to act like you have any ties or any relations or any kind of even ability to relate to what it means to be a person who grew up in rural and poverty-stricken Southeast United States, because you do not. And your fake little show that you put on does not convince any of us. You know, let's speak about what it means to be a Southerner. This ain't just Southerners. Actually, you know, there's a great number of people across this nation who are going to side against you on this next topic. Kamala the gun grabber. But as a Southerner myself in the Southeast United States, I can definitely tell you this is near and dear to a lot of us. This is something we just will not budge on. Kamala Harris thinks that she should be able to just go in, sidestep the Supreme Court, sidestep the voters, sidestep the House and the Senate, sidestep the checks and balances, and with the stroke of a pen, change the Second Amendment to her own liking. Don't believe me? Check this out.
Not one candidate who has very similar plans to what you have when it comes to guns never really seems to talk about the process of perhaps banning certain guns. Does it involve law enforcement essentially going to people's houses looking for specific banned guns? Does it involve perhaps creating a database of people who are legal gun owners? I mean, what kind of process are we talking about here?
Well, first of all, as a point of distinction, I believe I'm the only one who has said that she will take executive action. So mine is not just a plan with some plan for legislation. I'm actually prepared to take executive action to put in place rules that improve this situation. And we put resources into allowing law enforcement to actually knock on the doors of people who were on 2 lists. And then we sent law enforcement out to take those guns. Because, listen, we have to deal with this on all levels. But we have to do this with a sense of urgency, and we have to act. Enough with the talk. Assault weapons are weapons of war. Be clear about this. There is no reason that they should exist on the streets of a civil society.
Assault weapons that are already in circulation. What do you do about those?
Well, there are approximately 5 million, to your point, Craig. We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program.
So anti-Constitution Kamala thinks that she can just take away our rights just because she don't like them. I don't know. She's going to get everybody on board with her in Georgia, sign up and vote for her by pretending to speak like us, by trying to relate to Southern black culture, or black culture in general for that matter, with twerking and booty shaking. You know what I think? I was going to touch on that subject, but I don't even think I have to, man. The black nation of this country has just come out of the woodworks to tell you exactly what they think about that. It's disrespectful. It's rude. It's out of place. You didn't say anything that meant anything or present anything of value to black Americans. Somehow you're asking them for their vote. Let's put a star on the stage and let her shake her booty, and that'll get all the black people to follow us. And I'll pretend to talk like a Southerner. I'll pretend to have a Southern accent. Man, they won't even see what kind of... They'll be lining up by the masses to vote for me. The problem is they have your number. They know you're a liar. They know you're a fraud. They know you're not any of the things you claim to be or try to pretend to be. You're also anti-police. Anti-police. You're a DA. Were a DA, somehow. And yet you stand against the police of this nation? Oh, she doesn't stand against the police. That's not true. Not true. Well, let me show you what she had to say about the police in our country, about these hardworking men and women who put their lives on the line every day for our safety. This is what Kamala thinks about that.
In the summer of 2020, when there were protests across the country after a police officer murdered George Floyd, many progressives and liberals were talking about defunding police departments nationwide. One local radio show asked then-Senator Kamala Harris where she stood on the defund the police movement. Take a listen to this.
Defund the police. The issue behind it is that we need to reimagine how we are creating safety. And when you have many cities that have 1/3 of their entire city budget focused on policing, we know that is not the smart way and the best way or the right way to achieve safety. This whole movement is about rightly saying, we need to take a look at these budgets and figure out whether it reflects the right priorities. For too long, the status quo thinking has been, you get more safety by putting more cops on the street. Well, that's wrong.
Now, in another interview that same week, Harris praised Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti for removing $150 million from the police budget and investing that money in social services. Listen to this.
That's a legitimate conversation, and it requires a really critical evaluation. I applaud Eric Garcetti for doing what he's done.
And that campaign actually clarified to say that she did not support defunding the police. They said it was a, quote, lie to suggest that she did.
Why would Kamala be against the police? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, these things you say do not make sense. You say a safer street doesn't have more cops on it. I'll tell you what a street with more cops on it would have. Less crime. I mean, that makes sense. That won't take a genius to figure out. Obviously, it takes more than a half-wit, though, doesn't it, Kamala? I think it's because you have an agenda that you're pushing. That brings us to our next point. Communist Kamala. Well, what do you mean? Well, think about it like this. She wants to take your guns away. She wants to remove the police from your streets. She wants to continue ushering in thousands and thousands, millions at this point, millions of illegal invaders into our nation. These people are coming into our country, making themselves a felon on day one. A lot of them have been found in possession of guns, drugs. We've already seen the massive reports of women, American women and girls being raped and murdered at the hands of these illegals. And why are they even here? Well, that's really what gets me. Why are they even here? Well, because Kamala, the gun czar, is going to take your guns away. is also the border czar. She can deny this all she wants, and I know y'all try to say, no, she was never the border czar. That's BS. It's been misproven, debunked. No, it hasn't. It might have been blackwashed. I guess it depends on what day we're talking to Kamala. You can try to change history all you want. You can try to rewrite it all. We are literally witnessing in live and in real time the Mandela effect taking place right now. Things we read last week aren't there today. They're different. Did that ever happen? I don't know, but I remember it happening that way. I remember reading it. But suddenly it's not that way anymore. And the Democrats are going to be quick to tell you, it's just you that's wrong. It's you that was wrong. You had it wrong the whole time. Oh, it was just right-wing propaganda. That's why you think what you think. No, not at all, actually. Border czar Kamala. Here's Jen Psaki talking about border czar Kamala and essentially confirming she was put into that position specifically for that role, and Joe Biden put her there. Here's an article from the centersquare.com. It says, as calls grew for Harris to visit the border and respond to the crisis by April 20th, 2022, press briefing White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki was asked, does the president still have confidence in Harris as border czar? Jen Psaki replied, he absolutely does. That is your White House press secretary calling and acknowledging and affirming that, yes, Kamala Harris is the border czar and Joe Biden has much confidence in her in this role. You can try to state that it isn't that way, but the facts just speak against what you're saying. The facts can't just be obliterated and deleted. So communist Kamala would like for us to believe that she's not the border czar. Well, you know, in the past, communists have done this very thing where they pretend they're not something that they are, and they try to rewrite history and try to wipe it all away to pretend like none of that's true. But let's go a step further. Like, maybe I'm wrong for calling her a communist in this respect. Well, let's see how her values and her plans and her leadership lines up with and completely leans towards socialism, Marxism, and communism with her own words right here.
It has to be about a goal of saying everybody should end up in the same place. And since we didn't start in the same place, some folks might need more. Equitable distribution. Giving resources based on equity, understanding that we fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place. So there's a big difference between equality and equity. Equality suggests often everybody should get the same thing. Well, that often assumes everybody started out in the same place, as opposed to equity, which is everyone should end up in the same place. And if you then understand not everybody started out in the same place, you understand some people need more. So we all end up in the same place, right?
We are proud of the fact that equity is one of our guiding principles. Proud of the fact that we understand equality is important, but not everybody starts out on the same base.
We see that people in our country are having an experience that is not equal. So when we talk about the work we are doing here together, it is recognizing that and being guided by this principle of what we must do in the spirit and in the interest of equity. To put equity firmly at the center of our economic policy. But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit.
So what other plans does Kamala have for the rest of us? Well, let's look at our money for a minute. How could she affect our money? What is her plan as far as your tax dollars go? Take a look at what California woke Kamala did when she was a DA and a politician in California with taxpayer dollars.
When I was Attorney General, I learned that the California Department of Corrections, which was a client of mine, I didn't get to choose my clients.
Right, a client of the Attorney General.
A client of the Attorney General,
right.
Of the Office of Attorney General, that they were standing in the way of surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. And there was a specific case. And when I learned about the case,
I worked behind the scenes to not only make sure that that transgender woman got the services she was deserving. So it wasn't only about that case. I made sure that they changed the policy in the state of California so that every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access to the medical care that they desired and need. And I believe it was not only, I know it was historic in California, but I believe actually it may have been one of the first, if not the first in the country, where I pushed for that policy in a Department of Corrections.
So with California taxpayer dollars, Kamala decides she's going to pay for gender transition surgeries for prisoners, inmates who have been prosecuted and are serving time for crimes. Well, what for? Because they want to? Is that a thing that is allowed in the prison systems today, that you can just decide you want to have elective surgery at any point and the government has to pay for it? The people have to pay for it? It is under Kamala Harris's rule. Absolutely is. It will be under her leadership as president as well. It'll just become nationwide at that point. This can't be allowed, guys. Our taxpayer, we're being taxed to death. We're being taxed to the point we're having trouble surviving at this point. We're having trouble paying bills. You can't put food on the table. And Kamala wants me to pay for a man down at the local prison to have his wiener chopped off so he can go hang out with the girls at the girls' prison, because that sounds like a lot more fun. I gotta say, if I was in prison, I certainly wouldn't want to be in the man's prison. Let me hang out with the ladies. Kamala's all about that, and she will allow it. She'll make it happen. She already has made it happen. She's a criminal advocate. That's why I call her criminal advocate Kamala. She absolutely stands for the rights of criminals versus the rights of the victims. But you're a DA. Were a DA. Now you want to be president. As vice president, you've done absolutely nothing but a lot of the same things I've just talked about. Nothing productive for the American people. Nothing productive for our tax dollars. Nothing productive for the border. Nothing productive at all. Ever. Which leads me to my biggest question. Who is this chameleon Kamala? This shapeshifter Kamala? This ability to just deny your Indian American heritage because, well, right now you don't need Indians to vote for you. Plus, they're probably too smart to get on board with all your BS, right? Black people are way stupider. They'll fall for this just like that, right? Yeah, see, I think you're wrong. I think you don't give the American people nearly enough credit. Not Black Americans, not Indian Americans, not white Americans, not Hispanic Americans. I don't think you give any of them any credit. I think that's the reason why you're trying to disarm Americans, trying to defund our police, trying to sway these super ultra woke left policies into our government and into our lives every day, trying to victimize our children with these extremely left radical policies that you're implementing. I think all of that is for a reason. And I also think that you leave the border wide open, as the borders are. You've done nothing for the border because you know that the American people aren't going to fall for your bullshit. You know that. So you need voters. That's also why you're trying to make it legal for illegal immigrants to come into our nation and vote in our election. You seem to think that law-abiding citizens shouldn't own guns, but yet somehow that's going to solve our problem, our violence problem. But yet, these illegal immigrants keep getting found with weapons and guns and all kinds of other things that they're not supposed to have. Where are they getting this stuff from? You think they're going into the local gun shops and buying these things legally? Well, no, that's not possible. Well, what are you trying to say, Brandon? Well, what I'm trying to say is you can take all the guns away from us law-abiding citizens, but it will do nothing for keeping guns out of the hands of illegal criminals who do not care about your laws and prove that every day, every time they walk over our border illegally, every time that they take those guns that they obtained illegally and go and victimize American citizens. Every time a woman, an innocent woman or a child, American child, is raped or murdered in this country at the hands of illegals that you allowed in here, you prove to the American people time and time and time again that illegal activity will always be illegal activity. You're not going to demonize and punish law-abiding citizens and solve the illegal problem that's happening right now. You say that we need to look at things from a different approach. Yeah, I believe that, man. I believe that. We need to look at this from Donald Trump's approach, because your approach is garbage and has accomplished zero for the American people. You are the epitome and definition of a DEI candidate. Now, you don't like me saying this. I've already heard the left you're a racist if you say she's DEI. The only racists would say that the right's trying to make Kamala out to be all these things because they're saying she's a DEI candidate. Well, hold on, back it up, man. You've been preaching and shoving down our throat for over 4 years this idea that DEI should be implemented in everything we do, in every business, in every team sport, in government and politics, in everything. It should be a normal part of American life. Throw out actual qualifications. Throw out experience and knowledge on a subject. Throw all that out. You don't need that. What you need is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So why now are you saying that DEI is racist? You have shoved this down our throat for long enough. Why are you saying it's racist? To acknowledge this. I mean, you don't have to hate on me. Look, don't hate on me for calling her DEI. I'm not the one who called her DEI. I'm just the one acknowledging that that's what she was put in place to be. Don't believe me? All right, cool. Let's hear from Joe Biden on this matter. Joe Biden says, concerning DEI and Kamala Harris and politics and government, Joe Biden said this. Now, this is from whitehouse.gov, by the way. Oh my goodness, guys. Sorry for the pause. I just had to search like crazy to find this article. It's crazy because I was just telling you, they are literally whitewashing the internet. They are changing things Mandela effect style. I was looking at this just an hour ago, and suddenly it was removed from dang near everywhere. I had to search and search and search. But guess what? I found it. You didn't hide it good enough. So I went ahead and took a screenshot of it. They ain't going to be taking this one away from me, and I'm going to show it to you right now. This is from whitehouse.gov, where Joe Biden literally says these words. To me, the values of diversity, equity, inclusion are literally, and this is not kidding, his words, the core strengths of America. That's why I'm proud to have the most diverse administration in history that taps into the full talents of our country. And it starts at the top with the vice president. Thanks, Joe, for clarifying what the rest of us are saying and for essentially letting us know that just because they're calling us racists doesn't make it actually so. With that being said, look, guys, you don't have to like these words I'm saying. I don't really care, honestly. I'm just stating to you facts. If that makes me a racist or a bigot or whatever the heck you want to throw my way and try to insult me, it's falling on deaf ears. It truly is. I will not change the person that I am and the things that I believe in that are heavily based in truth because you say it hurts your feelings. That's just not going to happen, man. It's never going to happen. Here on this channel, we're going to stand for the truth. We're going to continue to tell you what's out there. And as they continue to delete it and rewrite it as fast as they can possibly accomplish that, we are going to screenshot and present it and put it out there. They're going to continue to try to shadow ban us. That's cool too, man. Hey, we're going to just continue to rely on the support of you guys. And speaking of which, they are absolutely doing that, shadow banning the shit out of us right now. As a matter of fact, we went from about 10,000 views a day on average to right now we're looking at about, what, I don't know, babe, about 50, 70, 100 views a day if we're lucky. That's okay, man. Look, I know a lot of you guys are supporting us, and I know we're just going to keep building and building, and eventually they can't shut us up when we got enough of y'all on our side. So with that being said, please get on our side. Like and subscribe to what we're talking about here today. Like and subscribe to the channel, The Southern Traditions, the Southern Drawl Podcast. We're going to be back in a couple days with some more truth for you guys. But until then, hey, man, be blessed, love America, and stand for the truth. Stop letting them tell you lies. Guys, that's just what I think. Let me hear your opinions. You don't have to like what I'm saying. You don't have to agree. I'd love to hear from you. We'll chat with you in the comments if you want. Other than that, guys, we will see you next time. That's all we got for you today here on the Southern Drawl Podcast.